guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I apologize that I wasn't able to actually do an April plan with me this month, and I am not sure when you guys are going to actually see this video, but I had a little extra time, so I wanted to go ahead and film it so that at some point I could post it for you guys. So without further ado, I have my March recap and my April plan with me so far. And just to let you know, I am currently filming this on March 31st. So I haven't actually started filling in April yet, so you'll kind of see how things are going. So first up, March. How did it go? It was kind of busy. I am going to start with my regular bullet journal, and then I'll show you all of my little accompanying pieces. So let's take a look. So March was gray. Here we go. So March, as you guys might remember, was my minimalist month. So I really like coming back to this intro page. I don't know, I just like how simple it is overall. So March, as the setup goes, I've actually pretty much migrated everything over. I actually checked off on this side here. I haven't checked off over here yet, but I basically, as I was setting up for April, I went ahead and just migrated stuff over, and you are going to see, if you've seen on Instagram, you will already have seen this, but you'll see that April is different in terms of this bit. I have my memories and March goals. I actually still have my bookmark in here because I need to check off one or two things still. March was tough. There was some not great news. So my memories are a little bit sparse down kind of near the end. Yeah, that's about all I'm going to say on that for right now. Reading goals, tracking, and money goals. I actually was able to get some reading in. At least one of these was an audiobook, and the other was a pretty easy read. So I just kind of, was reading before bed, or I was reading while I was walking, and that's how I was actually able to keep up with my reading goals. I didn't quite meet my goal yet. I only actually have, 5 for the month instead of 6, but honestly, not a big deal. Tracking, you will see some holes. I actually decided, was this the 20th, that I was getting really behind on my serial reader, where I would consistently get 2 or 3 days behind, try and catch up those 2 or 3 days, get 2 or 3 days behind, try and catch up. So they actually have a more recent feature where you can actually pause your subscription. So I went ahead and I paused the book that I'm reading, and I just have not been dealing with it because it was getting to be a little bit too much for me. I have over here my money goals, and I went ahead, I filled in my saved, and I also filled in my first quarter. Now, this is one where I was confusing myself as I was doing this, because technically the first quarter is January through March. However, I get paid at the end of the month, and I budget that money for the next month. So my brain was freaking out about where I should put what counted as being saved for what month. So I ended up doing kind of 2 separate things, and I'm just kind of not going to worry about it. I'm doing pretty well overall. I'm doing better towards my savings goals than I thought I was going to be. So I'm just going to kind of let it go. But I ended up writing a little bit about that essentially up here, which is, I had this extra space, and so I just wrote about it so that if I went back and looked at this later, I would know this is why. Yeah, it was a little bit confusing for me anyway. So as for my weeklies and dailies, I have been using, so this week I was still on holiday. I just used my regular 1-page weekly and had some dailies in there. I had a quick little travel spread because I went away for the weekend. And then I started this new weekly setup where I basically have tasks. This should be work, but this first week I actually switched it so it's school and work. And normally it's tasks, work, school, but university basically. And so I'm using an ALISTAIR style method to keep track of my tasks so that I have one big list, but I know kind of where each thing goes, instead of having my normal 2-page weekly, which is this, where I had all of these big tasks and then an upcoming week. So I basically combined all of this into one column, all of these into one, and then I left my upcoming week. So you'll see my days, all of my tasks, my upcoming week. And it's actually been working really well. I've been really trying to keep my tasks to a manageable level. I tend to have these just like epically long lists, and I just keep migrating them and transferring them because it's just too much for me to get done in any one given week. And so I'm really trying to figure out how to make it more manageable so that I actually am more productive and I don't feel overwhelmed by the amount of tasks I have. So still a work in progress, but I think that this was a pretty good first step. As for dailies, more dailies, I have another K-drama spread up here. More dailies. I had a couple of open brain dumps and like lists and stuff from during my holidays. So at the end of the holidays, I basically went through and wrote down what I still needed or wanted to work on. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. More weeklies, pretty standard. I'm actually gonna just skip the next page. Yeah, this was a bit of a rough week, so I just wrote a little just keep swimming down there to kind of remind myself to just kind of keep trucking, and eventually it'll get better. Then more weeklies. You'll notice a couple of crossouts. That would be YouTube. This was essentially around the time that I decided that things were just getting a little bit too hectic and I was going to take the pressure off of a regular filming and uploading schedule because it was really just getting to be too much for me. The added stress of it was just really not good for my health. So I decided to let myself off the hook, and you know, if I can put videos up every once in a while, at least until about June, I will, but they're definitely not going to be as regular as I normally am. Let's see, so did a little brain dump. I was actually at university and I was realizing that I was writing notes every which way, so I just went ahead and made up a brain dump. And yeah, I actually probably need to update a couple of these things, but that's okay. Then we are up to this week. So you'll see I still have a lot of open tasks. Yeah, we'll work on that. I have to cross off yesterday. So this is up to today. So I do have this one page over here for tomorrow. I need to kind of sit down later this afternoon and figure out what I want to try and get done. And I did give myself an extra spread before I set up April. So this is going to be a new K-drama tracker, and this is my Happy Mail and email spread. So you'll notice that what I had in March, where I had on my monthly the Happy Mail, upcoming month tasks and emails, I am changing that, and I still needed to have a Happy Mail and an email tracker, so I just went ahead and made a separate spread for that. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to get like 2 columns in here so it'll last a little bit longer. So that was March in my bullet journal. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys really quick March in my A6. So let's see. So I had my quick little setup page here and my log. You'll notice that I dropped off on checking off the days, and I had done my entire March setup, and I ended up reusing. So tasks I turned into things that I wanted to keep and drop and do differently for April in here. I had a couple notes on my April goals that I wanted to do when I set up in my full bullet journal, but a lot of these, and this was my memories. This actually is a homework tracker for university. So you'll notice that a lot of those month level spreads I didn't use in here because I had them in my big bullet journal. It just wasn't really necessary. I didn't need to duplicate it. I didn't want to, so I repurposed them for other things. So weekly, this was the first one I did, and it worked fairly well. I wasn't really using it that much because I was on holiday, so like not a big deal. I had some dailies in here, and you'll see that I kind of jumped around for different things. I had a quick little shopping list thrown in there. I have been checking off at the bottom of the pages when I'm done because I do have more of a mix between tasks and dailies and like all of that, so that when I finish a page I just check it off so I don't have to think about it. And I have put in some tabs for open spreads. So for example, this checkout spread I still haven't done anything with. This is actually completed. I set up actually for when I was traveling. I had a language tracker over here so that I could then fill in my language log when I came back because I didn't bring that notebook. Same for my some lines a day. I just did some quick little notes, and then when I got back I just filled in the lines for that particular day. Another quick little like shopping list. I had an extra page and I didn't know what to do with it, so I just did a quick little quote over here. And then my next weekly, and you'll see I pretty quickly decided that one, no more rulers. You guys know I don't really like the ruler life. Like, it's just not my thing. And I condensed my week and did a focus section because I was realizing that when I'm actually at home, I have my bullet journal. I don't need that. When I'm out and about, I tend to use this for random lists. So I like seeing my week overview so I know kind of what's going on. But then I really don't need to recopy all of my tasks. So I tried doing a focus thing. And you'll notice I got 2 of them done and not the other 3. So still kind of a work in progress. But then I started doing my dailies, and instead of traditional dailies, what it basically is I write the day that it is, and then anything that I'm thinking of, so basically just a random rapid log, but not even like, sometimes they're just notes. They're not even really tasks to do. I just drop them under that day so that I remember, but they're not necessarily things that I plan to do that day, if that makes sense. So up here, so for example, this was for Friday, but this was a random thing on a project that I'd like to eventually do with my class, and honestly, it might be next year. So I just wrote some notes about that. So it's under Friday, but it really is not like time sensitive at all. So that's why I have a sticky note on here. So yeah, just kind of a different way that I'm using this one than I am with my normal bullet journal. Again, did that same quote. You guys will notice a pattern here. Once again, I have my weekly. Instead of having 5 focus things, I did 3, and I kind of simplified them. And again, I probably could actually check off number 3. I just can't check off number 2. Still have to do my taxes. And yeah, so I still have a couple of open tasks on here. Honestly, I could probably check them off because I've got them elsewhere, but for now I'm going to leave them. And then this is for this week. So you'll see I set it up, but didn't really do anything with it. And then I also had this, I was talking to a colleague, and I had some ideas for things that I wanted to do for next year. So I didn't even put a date up here. I just like wrote down a whole bunch of ideas. So I have a sticky note on here because I need to transfer this so that I have it for next school year. But yeah, just like a random brain dump basically. And then once again, I had some other things that I needed to do. A couple of these I can actually check off, a couple of them not quite yet. And we get up to April. So let me go ahead. I'm going to switch back to my bullet journal. So before I show you guys my setup in my A6 and in my language journal, I wanted to go ahead and show you guys how I've set up April so far. So since I had a very like monochromatic theme for March, I decided to go with something completely different. It's, you know, the start of spring, and I just need a little bit of like happy vibes in my life. So I went with yellow, and a lot of people think that yellow must be my favorite color because it's part of my handle, like sunshine and stationery. However, I really do mean sunshine. Like I don't really care for the color yellow. You will never see me wearing yellow. Like literally I wear black like 95% of the time. However, I love the sun. And so I got the rose gold fountain pen recently. It was one of my little like treats for myself. It's been on my wish list for over a year, and I decided that I wanted to use the sampler that I have of Noodler's Apache Sunset, and I have to say I'm in love with this ink. It is so pretty. It looks like sunshine on paper. Like, it's my favorite thing. So I decided to base my entire theme around that. So you'll notice that April, have my intro page as normal. However, I basically didn't even do a quote. I just did a little thing. I couldn't not do something, but I was doing a very quick setup. I think this entire thing took me like 15 minutes, and probably a third of that time was just me waiting for the ink to dry from my fountain pen so that I could turn the page. Like, it was a very fast setup. So just did a quick little, I can't even call that a quote, quick little like mantra, I guess, on there. And then I went directly into my monthly. So big changes in my monthly. I kept my calendar as usual. However, I dropped some of the subcategories that I have. So I do still have the upcoming month because I do find that really useful to look at and kind of write things down as they happen. And then instead of everything else, I went ahead and I just put my April goals right on this page because I realized that the tasks that were going in my monthly before were things that I kind of eventually needed to do, but like 80% of the time, I didn't get to them that month. I ended up migrating them. So rather than migrating them again, I went ahead and I bumped them back to either, for example, I bumped a couple into my future log, weirdly enough. So over here, I actually have certain things that were from my March tasks that I went ahead and I was like, I don't have time to do these now. I'm not even going to try. And so I put them into like the summer months. just to kind of clear out the space and take that added like stress off of me of having these tasks that I knew I wasn't going to have time for, but that I kept writing down anyway. And then I went ahead and any of the tasks that I thought I might be able to get to and my goals, which are the things that I tend to get to that month, I just went ahead and put onto one page. So because I no longer have a goals page on my next spread, I also decided to just go ahead and drop memories for this month because I am doing my lines a day. I do it every morning. And I wanted to see if just having my lines a day would be enough, or if I felt like there were certain things that I really did want to pull out into memories. And if I do, then I'll go ahead and I'll set it up for May, for example. But I wanted to give it a shot because I've been doing memories for a while, and I want to see if it's something that I really like doing, or if it's something I'm kind of like making myself do so that I fill up that spread. So instead of having memories, I go directly into my reading and tracking. And I basically just did the same setup as normal. I have even fewer tracking goals, etc., than I normally do because I went ahead and I dropped Serial Reader. I'm going to start that back up again in the summer. So very few things on here. I simplified my money goals and I just have my savings. Like that was basically it. And that is literally my April setup. The next thing that I have in here is actually an updated Calendex because I am running out of room on my future log, and I know I'm probably going to get, April is month 4 in here, and I think I'm going to get at least one or two. I think I'm going to get at least through like May, possibly even June in here. So I went ahead and just set up a new Calendex. But like April is really, really simple this month. And I intentionally did that because I wanted to just kind of weed out all of the extraneous things and just focus on what I needed to get done, at least until I'm done with my master's. So that's in my bullet journal. Let me go ahead and show you what I did in my A6, which you kind of saw when I was flipping through. So rather than doing a log, I decided to try, I've seen different people do this and I don't remember who exactly, but I went ahead and I just did a little calendar here and then I circled days. So for example, anything that's in this dark green color are days that I actually have work. Anything that's in this brown are days that I'm going to university. And then if I have other things in here, I circled the date and then wrote the date on down here in like the color, and then went ahead and did that. And then I actually ended up adding more dates that I didn't actually mark up here, which, yeah, whatever. So that is basically my April setup. It's just a quick little calendar with some space in here because obviously I have most of it in my bullet journal. This is more if I take this, because I bring this to work with me. If I have something come up for work, for example, these two were things that came up for work that I just wanted to go ahead and write down so that I would have them right there. But otherwise, I don't really use this as heavily as I use my monthly or my Calendex in my regular bullet journal. And then, yeah, I have a summer shopping list. I haven't even set up a weekly yet. I need to do that. I haven't set up next week in my regular bullet journal either. But that was basically, that's basically my setup. And the reason is that I was finding that I didn't need or want the redundancy. I wanted to just have a place where I could make notes as I needed to, and then I transfer them elsewhere. So I just went really simple in here. I do still like having this to take with me to work. But the way that I use it is definitely a bit different than what I had originally envisioned. So, but hey, that's part of experimenting. So the last thing that I'm going to show you is my language journal. I decided to change my language journal, and I'm going to save the explanation for the other video, but I will go ahead and show you guys how March looked and then show you my April setup. So basically, oops, I have March, and if you can read it, let me zoom. So if you can tell, most of my language study has been Korean, and yeah, most of it's been Korean, let's just be honest. But I am still using it. I'm still filling it in every day. I am trying to do a little bit, like a little something every day. For example, a lot of these, it looks like I did a lot of Korean studying, and that is true. However, I wasn't doing necessarily Talk to Me in Korean lessons. I started using Memrise. And so if I did some things on Memrise, then I would put that in here as well. And that was easier because Memrise takes me like 5 minutes, whereas a Talk to Me in Korean lesson can take me anywhere from like 10 to like 25. So this is a way for me to still do something every day without having it take a lot of time. I listen to music almost every day, so that's where that light green comes in. And then in the evenings, if I watch even one episode of a K-drama, that goes down on here. And that's basically the only TV I watch now. I don't really watch any other shows. I just watch K-dramas, so I get a lot more I get a lot more practice than if I were watching shows in English, for example. So that is, oops, my glue roller did some funky things there. So that is my March setup. I do have in here, I recopied the lyrics of this one song that I find really, really catchy. It's ridiculous, but I love it. So I just have the lyrics in here to practice handwriting, and also eventually I want to work on like picking out words and all that kind of stuff. So just have that in here. And then I set up a review page. So I have to review level 1 lessons from Talk to Me in Korean, which some of the earlier ones, I'm going to just listen through the lesson again, but I know the content really, really well. It's mostly for the later ones that are like grammar points, the particles, that kind of stuff that I really need to like work on. So it's going to be re-listening and also like working on writing practice. And then I also have the 2 memorize classes, what are they, like modules, whatever the heck they call them, that I'm doing on Memorize. So I have the Talk to Me in Korean book 1, so it's basically the level 1, all of the vocabulary that relates to level 1, so that's good review for me as well. And then this is How to Study Korean Unit 1, which I'm using for a lot of just like new vocabulary, and this has been really good to learn words that they haven't introduced in Talk to Me in Korean yet, but there are also a lot of words that are just kind of at this point very random, because they just have their list of all of the things they did in that lesson, but I haven't actually gone to look at the lesson yet, so we'll see how that works in the long run. I will say that I'm up to, in this like second section, we are learning prepositions, and I am having such a hard time getting the prepositions to stick in my brain. I don't know what it is. I definitely need to work on that. Yeah, so just my little review page. I haven't decided what I'm going to do here yet. It's just blank for now. I'll figure it out later. And then I have my April setups. You'll notice that this tracker works really well for me. I see no reason to change it whatsoever, so I'm just keeping it the exact same as I always have. And you will notice that I don't even have any journal entries in here because I haven't even had time really to do that. Like, I've been trying to do something every day, but the reality is that I'm doing the things that take the least amount of time, basically, because that's just kind of the way it's going right now. So that is my March recap and my April setup. I hope that you guys enjoyed this, even though I didn't have a time lapse in here for you guys. I am not sure if I'm going to be able to do one for May either. We will see. But as soon as I can get back to kind of a normal schedule, I will go back to putting up my regular Plan With Me's for you guys, because I honestly miss doing them as well. So if you guys have any comments or questions, let me know down in the comments section. If you like this, please consider giving it a thumbs up and or subscribing to my channel. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.